All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to this explainer, where we are going to meticulously map out what just might be one of the most explosive public documents to surface in recent Philippine history. We're looking at a sworn affidavit recently submitted to the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. Now, right off the bat, I want to be absolutely crystal clear with you. My job today is not to take sides. I'm not here to pass judgment. My job is simply to walk you through exactly what is written in this document. We are going to impartially trace the alleged flow of money from its staging ground all the way to the highest halls of power, purely based on the claims made in these pages. It is a massive, incredibly complex web. So let's unpack exactly what's being alleged here. 18. This entire explainer, this whole alleged network, is built on the sworn testimonies of exactly 18 former Marines and Philippine Army soldiers. These men worked as personal assistants and security consultants for former Congressman Zaldy Co. They are the whistleblowers in this scenario, and their claims, well, they aren't based on third-hand rumors. They claim this is what they personally saw, physically carried, and personally delivered. And the sheer gravity of what they're saying is pretty startling. Under oath, they stated that they were, quote, ordered to deliver hundreds of millions of pesos in graft money in suitcases. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. We aren't talking about untraceable digital bank transfers or, hidden offshore shell companies. We are talking about literal, physical cash. Incredible amounts of it moving right through the streets of the capital inside luggage. To make sense of this massive document without getting lost, we're going to follow a clear 6-part roadmap today. We'll start with the whistleblower's claims, then move to deliveries to the top, look at the legislative ledger, check out the ICC and Comelec connections, dive into the operations and leakage, and finally, look at the evidence and fallout. Okay, part 1, the whistleblower's explosive claims. Let's look at where this all allegedly started. The crucial starting point is understanding where this entire operation was supposedly staged. The soldiers point directly to Zaldico's house in Valle Verde 6, Pasig City. They describe this as the primary receiving hub. They claimed they would wait there as bulk cash was brought in from various remitters, and they specifically named Congressman Erwin Guardiola as one of those sources. This house, according to the soldiers, was essentially the staging ground where mountains of money were counted, sorted, and packed up before being sent out. And the physical logistics of this are just staggering. To really visualize the volume here, the whistleblowers state they had to physically go out and buy different sizes of luggage depending on the size of the payout. Large suitcases allegedly held anywhere from 50 to 70 million pesos. Medium ones held 30 to 40 million. Small suitcases, 15 to 25 million. For the quote-unquote smaller deliveries, they claim to have used paper bags holding 5 to 10 million pesos or expandable envelopes for 2 million. They even mentioned that when they completely ran out of suitcases, they literally just used storage cartons. Keep these specific containers in mind as we trace who allegedly received them. Which brings us to part 2, deliveries to the top. Let's look at the highest levels of power named in the affidavit. In what is arguably the most explosive claim in the entire document, this is down in paragraph 45, one former Marine named Belner Tube details a highly specific delivery. He claims he was put on a flight branded airtaxi.ph by Zaldy Co., landing in Lawag City. And what was with him? Allegedly 5 large suitcases. If we use their math, that's potentially 250 to 350 million pesos. They claim they traveled by land straight to the Marcos house in Ilocos Norte, where none other than Sandro Marcos physically received the luggage. The affidavit then states that President Bongbong Marcos and Liza Arcos arrived a few hours later. The soldier even claims to have taken photos inside the house with the president and Sandro. But the executive branch claims definitely don't stop there. the soldiers allege an absolutely relentless delivery schedule to other top officials. They claim they visited former Speaker Martin Romualdez's Forbes Park residences over 100 times. Sometimes, they say, it required up to 6 vans just to haul up to 52 suitcases at once. The alleged delivery map stretches all across the city. We're talking 2 medium suitcases to DBM Secretary Emina Pangadaman at a Shangri-La basement and 8 suitcases to DPWH Secretary Manuel Buenoan. They even bring retired generals into the mix, like Katapong, who allegedly got 8 suitcases in BGC, and Anyo, who supposedly received a paper bag. There's even a mention of a high-level meeting at a Bel Air house allegedly belonging to DOJ Secretary Boying Remula. Again, remember, these are the explicit claims pulled directly from this public document. Moving on to Part 3, the legislative ledger. Now we're heading down the hierarchy into the legislature. The sheer volume of lawmakers mentioned here is wild. The soldiers state they witnessed numerous senators receiving money, providing exact locations and luggage sizes. For example, they claim Senator Chiz Escudero received 4 suitcases in New Manila. Senator Tito Soto allegedly handed 5 large suitcases at a Baclaran office. Down in Las Piñas, they claim Mark Viller was given 7 medium suitcases. The allegations just keep going into these super exclusive neighborhoods. Senator Erwin Tolfo allegedly getting 6 medium suitcases in Green Hills, and Senator Lauren Lagarda taking 2 medium suitcases in Forbes Park. That actually matches the 2 medium suitcases they claim were transferred directly into former Senator Bong Revilla's vehicle over in Quezon City. And if you look at the House of Representatives, the alleged net was cast incredibly wide. The whistleblowers explicitly named over 24 representatives. We're talking prominent political families and incredibly diverse districts. The list includes Abante, Acop, Adiong, Alvarez, Ang, Baranda. It goes on to Barbers, Bernos, Brozas, Castro, Chua, Delipe, Delima, Fernandez, Garin, Gonzalez, Konghun, Lystro, Manuel, Sandro Marcos, and Romualdez appear again here, plus Ortega, Paduano, Kimbo, Suarez, and Erwin Tulfo. The soldiers claim they essentially functioned as a private, high-stakes career service, dropping these suitcases off at private residences, at the Polo Club townhouse, or literally right at the House of Representatives itself. Speaking of the House, beyond the named individuals, there's this fascinating, almost systemic claim they make. The soldiers allege that during the House Quadcom hearings, they were instructed to escort Zaldico's assistants over to the House of Representatives carrying paper bags, each one packed with 5 million pesos. They claim they just waited near the helipad and watched as various unnamed lawmakers' drivers rolled up and picked up these identical paper bags of cash. It really paints a vivid picture. All right, Part 4, the ICC and COMELEC. This is where international investigators and independent bodies enter the picture. So, according to the soldiers, former Senators Sonny Trillanes and Zaldico were heavily involved in facilitating clandestine operations for the International Criminal Court right here in the Philippines. They claim that months before December 2023, they were tasked with helping exchange a massive 112 million pesos into US dollars, specifically in preparation for quote-unquote foreigners. When the ICC personnel actually arrived, the soldiers claim they acted as their personal security escorts. They say they ferried them to secret interviews at the Midas Hotel, Bahay Kalenga, and even the National Bilibid prison, alleging that Zaldico and Trillanes were the ones footing the bill for the accommodations and setting everything up. And keeping with the theme of independent bodies, we have to look at the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC. The soldiers claimed that Zaldico had 2 separate meetings at the Midas Hotel with COMELEC chairman attorney George Garcia. Over the course of those 2 meetings, the soldiers alleged that a total of 4 medium-sized suitcases packed with money were transferred directly from their vehicle right into Chairman Garcia's vehicle down in the car park. Let's shift gears a bit to Part 5, Operations and Leakage. We're looking at the lower level, day-to-day operations now. Because according to the document, it wasn't just politicians getting funded. The soldiers state they were specifically tasked with receiving money from two individuals, named as Kevin Wong and Secretary Laurel Tiu, and handing it directly to the leader of a social media troll farm. This farm was allegedly operating out of a building on Valero Street in Makati City. They claim those paper bags of cash were routinely dropped off just to fuel this massive online manipulation operation. And here is a bit of dark irony for you. There's this fascinating claim of leakage happening within the operation itself. See, the whistleblowers say they worked alongside 16 active-duty Philippine National Police officers who acted as their armed escorts. Well, the soldiers allege that some of these active police officers just couldn't resist the temptation of what they were guarding. They claim these officers benefited by literally breaking the locks off the suitcases, skimming bundles of cash right off the top, and then quietly replacing the damaged locks before making the final delivery. Finally, Part 6, Evidence and Fallout. Because claims are one thing, but proof is another. The soldiers are very, very clear that this isn't just a bunch of hearsay. They claim to have submitted concrete physical documentation alongside their affidavit to back this all up. This allegedly includes 30 photographs showing the cash actually being counted, being loaded into the vehicles, and being delivered, including those photos from inside the Marcos house in Ilocos Norte that we mentioned earlier. But it's not just photos. They cite flight manifests from airtaxi.ph, DHL shipment receipts for the belongings of ICC personnel they were tasked with mailing, and their own daily duty detail schedules tracking their movements. This elevates it from just a story to a highly documented claim. But naturally, bringing claims of this magnitude to light has not been without serious consequences. The soldiers state that before any of this went public, a former superior tried to bribe them. They were allegedly offered a reward if they would just execute an affidavit contradicting the primary whistleblower or Ligwiteza. When the 18 soldiers flat out refused the bribe, they claim the situation turned dark. They say they were subjected to intense intimidation, receiving threats through phone calls and text messages, and were even shown videos of former coworkers who had already been pressured into signing counter-affidavits. Which brings us to the ultimate crossroads of this whole explainer. We have just mapped out alleged claims spanning from hundreds of millions in suitcases going to the absolute highest offices in the land, all the way down to troll farms and skimming police escorts. So, the question I want to leave you with today is this. With 30 photographs, 18 sworn testimonies by military men, and a massive public document now sitting before a paralyzed Senate committee, what actually happens when the very people tasked with investigating systemic corruption are the exact same people named in the affidavit? It's a complex, evolving story and one we are absolutely going to continue watching closely. Thank you so much for joining me today, and as always, keep questioning the evidence.